Hi everyone, and our next objects, you get a two for the price of one with this instalment, and it's the Coronation Spoon, which is one of the oldest surviving pieces. Like the two gems that we saw in the crown, this is one of the, well, really the only intact thing to survive Cromwell's destruction. The other piece is the great big gold, solid gold eagle, which is called an ampulla, and that is where the coronation oil is stored and poured from the beak of the eagle onto the spoon. But as I say, it's a two for the price of one here, and it will be a little bit of naughty in-pocket filming with this one as well in the jewel house, where you'll get to see the real things. Moving on to the spoon. The spoon is the only item to survive Oliver Cromwell's destruction of the sacred symbols of monarchy after the English Civil War. It dates back to the early 12th century and is recorded among the objects at the shrine of St Edward the Confessor in Westminster Abbey in an inventory of 1349. Anointing is the moment when the Archbishop places the holy oil on the head, heart or breast and hands of the monarch. It is the only part of the coronation service that the congregation are not allowed to watch. During the televised coronation of Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953, a canopy was held over the Queen as she was anointed to ensure it could not be seen. Whereas with King Charles, we will have this beautiful screen instead of a canopy. And here is a little spoiler for you, because this is in the Abbey, and these items, the screen, the oil and everything, is what we're seeing in this image are those items being blessed, ready for the coronation. And it's a beautiful thing, all hand embroidered. As you can see, you've got the angels above, and it is a tree, like a tree of life, full of animals and whatnot. Below, right at the very bottom, in the white banner, it's got all things shall be well, all manner of things shall be well. As I say, it was hand embroidered, and this is the King and Queen seeing that being done. The Royal School of Needlework. And you can see figures and animals and all sorts have gone into this, but this is a tribute or a nod to the Commonwealth, because don't forget, the King is the King of England, but he is also the head of the Commonwealth. So in each of the leaves are sewn Commonwealth countries, so that's a little nod to that. And with King Charles's cipher of CR3, and on the posts of the screen, a nod to the ampulla with these eagles that you can see here. So I thought that was a nice little touch of continuity going on there. The recipe for the holy oil is a secret, but contains oils of orange, flowers, roses, jasmine and cinnamon. It is consecrated by a bishop on the coronation day itself. This sacred blessing using the ampulla and spoon is at the heart of the Christian coronation service, demonstrating the connection between the monarch and God. Unlike the regalia, that had to be remade in the 17th century after its destruction under Cromwell, the spoon is the only item to survive Oliver Cromwell's destruction of the sacred symbols of monarchy after the Civil War. Now, we think of our crown jewels, and many people think of the 8 crown jewels as being in the British Isles the only set, but that is not true, not at all. King Charles I, the king here who lost his head, as you can see him, and over to his left you will see the Tudor Crown Imperial, a thing which was lost and what we saw in our first little documentary. The old orb and sceptre, all those things were lost under Cromwell. And the orb, apparently, when it was taken to Cromwell, he kicked it across the room and said, "Take away this bauble," and it was all melted down and whatnot. Charles I was the son of James VI of Scotland and first of England. He ascended to the throne in 1625 and was crowned in England in Westminster Abbey. However, the Scots insisted that he should also be crowned in his northern kingdom. The ceremony took place in Edinburgh at the Palace of Holyrood on the 18th of June 1633, amid an elaborate and extravagant royal tour, and using the honours of Scotland, which are the oldest surviving crown jewels in the British Isles, and including an ampulla which was especially made for the coronation of King Charles I. And this is what we're seeing here. Though unmarked, this ampulla is possibly made by James Denistone, a deacon of Edinburgh, and the incorporation of goldsmiths, and it is made from solid gold. And there's references in the Bible to Solomon when he was crowned king using a horn of oil. So this is in that sense. So this is what King Charles I was crowned with in Scotland, and it's an interesting little thing, isn't it? Here's the inscription, of course, all in Latin. But the Scots, thank goodness, had the good sense to hide their crown jewels away when they knew what Cromwell was up to, and they hid them, and thank God they still survive to this day. And this is what we're seeing here, the honours of Scotland. And King Charles has been presented with these as well, so it's a nice little touch. The royal family loves Scotland as well, and hopefully the Scots love the royal family and the English and whatnot. I know there was bad blood many years ago, but my experience of the Scottish people is you couldn't wish to find a friendlier bunch of people, and Scotland's somewhere I'd love to go, it really is. So yeah, this is King Charles I, and it was secretly hidden away. But our ampulla, the original one, was destroyed under Cromwell, as I say. And when Cromwell died and the monarchy came back under King Charles II in 1661, they had to have a new one made. And that's what you're looking at here. You're looking at the spoon, of course, which we've already discussed, which is the oldest surviving piece intact. What I should have mentioned about the spoon as well, interestingly, the jewels on the spoon were more than likely added at the time of the coronation of King Charles II. They wouldn't have originally been on there. And we're going to discuss the ampulla now. The ampulla, 1661. It was made after the restoration of the monarchy and for the coronation of King Charles II in 1661 by Sir Robert Viner, who was a banker and London goldsmith, and he basically financed the making of the new crown jewels because they needed everything new. Apart from the start of the spoon and St Edward's chair, everything was gone. And the only reason that Cromwell let St Edward's chair, the coronation chair, survive is because he wanted his inauguration ceremony performed in it, which happened in Westminster Hall rather than the Abbey. But basically the hypocritical man was king in all but name. But that's for another story. The gold ampulla is used to hold the consecrated oil which the sovereign is anointed with during the coronation ceremony. It is cast in the form of an eagle with outspread wings. The head of the eagle is removable, and there is an opening in the beak for the pouring of the oil. The design is based on an earlier, smaller vessel, which was based on a 14th century legend, which legend goes that the Virgin Mary is said to have appeared to St Thomas Becket and presented him with a golden eagle and a vial of oil for the anointing of future kings of England. Oil from the ampulla is poured onto the 12th century anointing spoon at the most sacred moment of the coronation, the gesture of anointing, when the Archbishop touches the holy oil onto the head, breast and hands of the sovereign. And this dates back to the Old Testament Book of Kings, where the anointing of King Solomon is mentioned being done with a horn of oil. So similar to the one that we saw for King Charles I. And our coronation is very similar to those ones, and it's not changed for many, many years. So that's our 2 second objects, and now we're off into a little bit of filming. First, the bit of filming I did was of the replica of the Coronation Spoon, which is in the White Tower in the Tower of London, which you can film and photograph with no problem whatsoever. So we get a nice detailed little filming of that. And I was just going to go straight onto the coronation chair after that, but I managed a little bit of naughty in-pocket filming in the jewel house, where we'll see both Spoon and Ampulla, the originals. So off we go for that. What you're looking at here is the Coronation Spoon, an exact replica of the Coronation Spoon. In 1649, when Cromwell came along, Parliament seized the original crown jewels, and pretty much all of it was destroyed. The crowns were melted down and everything was destroyed and broken up. The only things to survive were the original of this spoon, which is the coronation, or the sacred coronation spoon, which is what the monarch is anointed with sacred holy so the oil for the coronation, the sacred oil, and some gemstones, including St Edward's sapphire, which is in one of the crowns now. But this is an exact replica of the spoon, which is over in the jewel house, where you can't film, or not supposed to film anyway. And they wanted an exact replica of this so it could be displayed for people to photograph and film, and this is it. And this really is a good replica of that spoon. Every monarch since the 12th century has been anointed with oil from this spoon. That oil comes from the Holy Land and is blessed and sanctified by the Patriarch of Jerusalem, and that's what King Charles will be anointed with very soon. His coronation, and you can see, as I say, it's an exact replica, and it's a really, really beautiful thing. Cromwell wanted the monarchy and everything to do with it destroyed, and this, along with a few other pieces, were the only things to survive that. But yeah, this is what King Charles will be anointed with, when of course he sits in the coronation chair, which I shall show you now.